What's up, family? Welcome back to the channel. I got more weird and crazy TikToks that will alter your perception. So you're gonna wanna stay tuned, cause you ain't gonna believe this.
I have a theory that the Mandela effect is used to see how much of history can be altered in front of our eyes. Here's a prime example of one of that. There's this woman on TikTok who was going crazy because she swore the Fruit of the Loom had a cornucopia logo. And to the point that even Fruit of the Loom themselves put a timeline of all their logos and it never had a cornucopia. And this woman went hard. Her therapist told her, yo, you need to chill out. You need to just drop this. So she went through all of her old clothing, and lo and behold, she found a shirt with the Fruit of the Loom with the cornucopia logo on it. That shows me, like, yo, I think the Mandela effect is an operation that's running around right now to see how much of history can be altered right in front of our eyes without us noticing. And then they gaslight the public and be like, nope, this never happened. Damn, I didn't think about it like that. Yeah, bro, people are thinking about it very little, like, oh, it's the Berenstain Bears or the Berenstein Bears or Jiffy or Jif's peanut butter. No, it's much larger than that, guys. They're using this to see, oh, if we can get people to forget certain primary things about their childhood, what can we do with history?
Hey, I can second that one right there. There's even been instances where like islands that were there on the map aren't on the map anymore. And I would say that, you know, it's got something to do with the Mandela effect too. You know, it's weird though when you think about it, man. What y'all think?
The cities of Antarctica do not exist as long as they are not seen. But you get through the frequency fence, a whole new world opens up. This past weekend, frequency fence went down in almost all of Antarctica, mainly New Swabia. Believe it, this is Antarctica. Grab your popcorn. Frequency fence down.
I don't know about that one. I can't even comment on that one, but I do know about territorial sites that different countries have within Antarctica where they do tests. So it ain't far-fetched, but I don't think it's a secret. Yeah, I don't think it's a secret or anything like that. But then, I don't know, man. People need to get it together. What y'all think? Astronaut leaks footage of space flight over Antarctica. Incredible angles. Oh, this is a perfect time to just prove that, okay, that when they say NASA has these skewed or fisheye lenses, if that were the case, then why isn't the corner of the windows being fisheyed? You see, it's not being fisheyed. And you still see the curvature of the earth. But to see the entire earth, you know how far away from the earth that you would have to be? The earth is huge. They're probably a good maybe 100,000, 200,000 feet elevated or something like that. And they can still barely see. And then when people were like, where's the stars? Where's the stars? Let me say this about the stars. So what cameras do, they got something called light isolation, right? So when a super bright light gets in the camera, if auto isolation is on, it'll adjust where it will turn down the brightness enough so you can see whatever is super bright in front of you, and it will blot and black out everything else. So that's just like if I was pointing my camera at the sun, the camera would get dark enough just to see the sun and nothing else around it.
Did y'all ever see this photo that NASA put out of Earth in 2015? Now look a little more closely.
Oh yeah, SEX. I see it.
Now, before some of you tell me that I'm making this up, I got this directly from NASA's website, and it's still there.
Yeah, I see it. Subliminal programming. That's all.
I'm sure it's
Subliminal,
just a coincidence.
subconscious program.
One of the Hamas leaders is literally calling for all free Palestinians across the world in free countries to mobilize this Friday. For what? We know for what. To mobilize and attack all Israeli people around the world, including free people of the world. The United States, Canada, everywhere. Oh, you think they're not coming for you too? Israel is only the first target, warns commanders. It says that the entire planet will be under our law. There will be no more Jesus, no more Christian traitors. They are waging a holy war against all religious people on this world. The U.S. intelligence knows something they're not telling us in the U.S. They are here and they're getting ready to attack us. Which is why they're beefing up security around mosques and religious institutions all over the United States. But today, look at this glitch real quick. A supposed glitch from Homefront Command saying, stay in your protected room in your area, enter a protected room and stay there until further notice for all guidelines. But yeah, it's just a glitch. Kind of like how America and Israel both sent out these emergency alerts on the 4th. Kind of seems like they know something. Oh wait, Egyptian intelligence official says Israel ignored repeating warnings of something big. They warned them they're about to be bombed. Netanyahu said earlier every member of Hamas is a dead man. Remember though, they knew this was coming. Don't believe Iran's involved? This was reported today. They're literally mobilizing all their missiles towards the Gaza area. I'm warning you. Warn everyone to keep their kids out of school Friday. Stay home if possible. If nothing happens, great. But either way, we know they're going to be attacking us. They've already told us straight to our face. Iran hates America. They've been chanting death to America. Meanwhile, everyone's protesting for the Palestinians. It makes no sense. This is the beginning of the last war. This is the holy war. The Antichrist will rise and cause peace out of this chaos right here.
Fear-mongering at its best. Fear-mongering at its best, man. As y'all can see at the top of that video, it says when that video was made. It was October the 12th, right? So I'm guessing it was this year too. As you can see, nothing happened, which is great, but propaganda is at an all-time high now, y'all. To continue to control you with fear. That is the lowest frequency. That is the lowest frequency. If we didn't learn anything from that movie, Leave the World Behind, we should have learned from that little girl. That little girl did not give a dang about what was going on around her. She didn't care about anything else. So if it's telling us anything, it's telling us to unplug.
So last night I watched this movie, Leave the World Behind. I was hearing all kinds of stuff about it. And I gotta be honest with you guys, there was satanic symbolism everywhere. Not only is it already super creepy that this movie was directed by a former US president, but there was stuff all over, satanic symbolism everywhere, and things in that movie are literally happening as it's released. So it was released and they're talking about this evil cabal that runs the world and how they meet at winter solstice, and the movie's released right around the time of winter solstice, and this cyber attack brings down the entire US grid. And literally within days after this movie's released, we see that China practices hacking the entire US grid, and that they are able to bring down our critical infrastructure. It really is biblical in nature, because the Bible says in Ephesians 6 that our war is not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, rulers, authorities, the darkness of this world, spiritual forces of wickedness in high places. And that's literally what this entire movie was about. Now, there was a lot of stuff, obviously, that was not biblical in this movie, but you just see, it really did eerily feel like a warning about things to come.
Yeah,
things
but
that a lot of us
it's a lot more to it
anyway.
than that, y'all.
And this is coming from
it's not that
the
serious.
direction of a former U.S. president, which is really scary. They talk about things in that movie that you would never see in mainstream media about the wealthy elites that meet and plan these things. And yeah, it really was.
They tell us the truth in plain sight. Smile I've ever seen out of Mark Zuckerberg.
So the song Shake It Off was about how I shed my skin every 1,000 years. And the song Bad Blood was about how I drink blood out of my Grammys.
A toast to blood. Save some blood for Paul Rudd.
Begins at the dawn of history. The birth
They
of the
know
very
y'all go
first
wrong with this. They
society
playing in your.
Dude, the stuff they have that they probably don't tell us about. How much of that is real?
Yeah, it's pretty real.
Have you seen some stuff that made you go, holy shit?
Yes.
They can do that?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah. And
how much can you tell us?
Well, you know what? One thing that they're doing, and this is actually something I wanted to talk about today, because it's going to affect everybody. It's not just something that is going to affect people in the military or else in the intelligence community. But one of the things that they've been working on is, imagine you got to rock up on a target. And before you do that, before you get the customers on site, and you're going to hopefully obtain some high value targets there at that location. Before you do that, you got
talking like euphemisms.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Before you're gonna nuke people.
Yeah, before you're gonna go in there,
blow terrorists into another dimension.
Well, sometimes actually, I was gonna say sometimes you want to actually capture them and get their intelligence. We've gone past that, right? Because the years where we were getting our ass kicked for holding on to people in detention facilities, you know what that did? That pretty much convinced everybody that was involved in this to just whack them, right? Because then you don't have to deal with the aftermath. You don't have to worry about are you going to get in trouble for interrogating somebody, right? Exactly. So that actually increased the lethality of operations. You started painting targets and just blowing the shit out of there rather than trying to grab the target and get their intel. That's a problem because then the pipeline dries up for the intel. But anyway, so imagine you got this site. The first thing you got to do is determine if your target's there, right? And it's not like that, the Tom Clancy movies where, you're looking through walls and all this shit. That technology, night vision devices, and that ability in low light conditions to monitor and to identify specific individuals has always been a problem. They've made great strides on it to the point now where in no light conditions, right? With the right stacked database, with the right information in that database, meaning the right amount of information about individuals, right? You're constantly populating this database with new faces or with new photographs of individuals that you're going after. With enough of that to sift through, they're getting to the point now with no light conditions that they can identify positively the targets in that room or the targets in that facility or in that building, whatever it might be.
And there's this object orbiting Earth. It's on NASA's server. It's estimated 15 tons. They won't mess with it because it makes no sense to mess with it. You don't know what type of self-defense system or mechanism this thing may have. It's estimated to be there for 13,000 years. And how we get this number is the NSA analyzed a signal from it. A couple of astrophysicists analyzed the signal, and some ham radio operators back in the 50s also got the same signal, all independent, came up with the same translation, decoding of the signal, that it was saying it was from the Epsilon Boötis constellation. Time magazine picked this up in 1960. Then I saw some reports of it following Sputnik, when Russians sent Sputnik to orbit the moon and come back. And I said, this thing has course correction. Then they discovered that it was in a polar orbit. It had changed course and went into a polar orbit, something we couldn't do until just recent times. In order to create a lot of the megalithic structures that you've seen, like the pyramid complexes and everything else, you need a polar orbit. But this thing has been orbiting in a polar orbit from the 1950s. So I looked into Epsilon Boötis. I'm like, well, let me research this place. Found out there's something called a void there. This void is called the Boötis void. Michio Kaku, the famous theoretical physicist, talking about it. And he said that in that void, it looks like light's being bent around that area. And he says that we think that it could be a cloaked advanced civilization. The more I dug into it, I realized that the Black Knight satellite is this object that's still orbiting our planet right now. I think it's watching us, and I believe that it's using quantum entanglement to transmit everything in real time, what's going on Earth, back to home base at Boötis.
That's a stretch, but I don't know. What y'all think?
There was a time where Antarctica, perhaps 90 million years ago, there was a lush rainforest that is now covered in miles of ice on the Antarctic continent.
Friend of ours, who will remain nameless, went there. And he said a couple interesting things. He said the mountains looked eerily pointy and four-sided. He said way more mountainous than he thought it would be. He said there is a pact with every country that has a slice of it that they will not dig or remove any minerals from Antarctica. They are clearly protecting or preserving something that may or may not be under, I believe it's 3 miles at its thickest of ice.
Do you know that on December 13th and 14th, there is an event taking place that you might be witnessing for the first time? Actually, on December 13th and 14th, a significant number of meteors are expected to fall from the sky, commonly known as shooting stars. Specifically on these dates, the Earth will pass through the debris of a comet, resulting in a meteor shower known as the Geminids. During this time, you can expect to see around 120 meters per hour, making it a spectacular celestial event.
Yeah, I must have missed that one because I didn't see it.
Washington Post reveals hackers affiliated with China's People's Liberation Army have infiltrated critical services here in the U.S.
Alexandra Hoff joins us now from our nation's capital. Alex, this is not good.
No, it's not. I mean, this infiltration appears to be part of a broader effort to insert chaos into our logistical systems. The information collected could then be weaponized if the U.S. and China were to become engaged directly in the Pacific. According to reporting from the Washington Post citing multiple U.S. and industry security officials, China's cyber army is invading critical U.S. services, like an attempt to break into the system behind Texas's independent power grid. Other victims include a water utility in Hawaii, a West Coast port, and at least one oil and gas pipeline, according to that report you're seeing there. Brandon Wells, executive director of the Department of Homeland Security's cybersecurity agency, told the Washington Post this, quote, "It is very clear that Chinese attempts to compromise critical infrastructure are in part to pre-position themselves to be able to disrupt or destroy that critical infrastructure in the event of a conflict, to either prevent the United States from being able to project power into Asia or to cause societal chaos inside the United States to affect our decision-making around a crisis." The report notes that over the past year, hackers...
Bro, this stuff is so orchestrated, bro. So orchestrated. I mean, how ironic that all this stuff would be breaking news right after the movie Leave the World Behind, right?
Once you find out that Fuck Island is real, Pedophile Island was real, you're like, what? That was real?
Yeah.
And then the list never got published? What?
Yeah.
And that Epstein killed himself, allegedly.
Yeah.
And the cameras didn't work.
Yeah.
What? And then Michael Baden, the autopsy doctor, does an examination of the corpse and says the neck is broken and consistently, which is consistent with being strangled to death, not with hanging, like the way it's broken. What? And then Ghislaine gets arrested and no fucking clients are named. No one, just, you sold pussy, you're fucking going to jail forever. Now go to yoga.
Yeah.
She's in a place with yoga classes.
Yeah.
Like this minimum security place. And they just keep her alive somehow or another.
Yeah. Her dad fell off a boat.
Yeah, well, wasn't her dad like some sort of a Mossad officer or something like that?
Most probably, yeah. He probably said something to the wrong person. They were like, all right, it's time for you to fall off a boat.
Is that what happened?
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm...
Now,
I
this
don't
is
think
the
that's
stuff I
common
believe.
knowledge, but obviously that's the subtext.
This is the stuff I believe. That's what all this other stuff is being covered up, being used for. This propaganda has been put out for because they are doing their little sneaky, little dirty, little intrusive stuff on the other side. And we're so worried about the world coming to an end, they out here stealing our children so they can take them to the island, right? Yeah. So, man, look. We got to stop paying attention to this stuff and pay attention to what matters.
The people in Egypt, they believed in what's called Kemet, the people that existed before the Egyptians. When we hear these stories about the Great Pyramid being a tomb for the pharaoh, it's worth mentioning that even the locals didn't believe that. The saying that the pyramids were built to be tombs for the pharaohs wasn't even developed until 150 years ago. That's it. They were taught Kemet. And it's worth mentioning that when you go through inside these pyramids of Giza, there's not one single glyph in any of them whatsoever. There was never a mummy found in any Egyptian pyramid ever. Quite literally, the only reason why we are told this stuff is because that was the theory developed by these men that went in there and said, I believe these must have been for the pharaohs. That makes sense.
So it's all just one group of people had one theory and that theory just stuck around.
100%.
What if, y'all, the people of Egypt still exist somewhere in time and space? They just somehow transferred into an alternate parallel universe or something. I believe that because to be able to harness 0 point energy, you know how advanced you would have to be And I think because Tesla, Nikola Tesla, he figured it out. He figured out how to harness 0 point energy from the earth and from the atmosphere. Like, he figured that out. He was on his way, but they took him out before he could really get this out. So really, I mean, cause just think about how many pockets we would damage if we just harness energy from the earth. They can't let that happen, bro. They can't let that happen, man. It's crazy when you think about it, man. Like, we are slaves to humanity, bro. We are slaves and we don't even realize it. People will say, just get up, go to work and pay your bills. That's the way of life. That's how it's supposed to be. You are indoctrinated. Even though I know that's what I got to do to pay my bills, but I also know this is not the way life is supposed to be. But you know what? It is what it is, right? What y'all think? Y'all get in the comments and let me know. But hey, if you like what you saw, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, head over to the Discord. It's free. Send videos you want to see me react to. But until next time, folks.